just a little bit that way, maybe.
I can't. There's stuff. It's your stuff.
Oh no! And we get a coffee spill right off the bat. Is that off camera?
See, that's why I'm drinking water. Where's some? Do we have paper towels here?
Nah.
There's a towel right there on the floor. Grab that.
All right.
Well, what am I going to do with you? See, that's why I have water. Because
This is SAKtown talk live.
Cleaning up Wolf's coffee spill.
Yeah. Too much coffee or not enough or something. SAKtown talk live here on a August morning. It's the 5th of August, Tuesday. Yes. In the studio with us, we have Taylor Crocker. He's the operations manager of the City of Seward Electric Department. And we've kind of been a little while since we've talked about the electrical situation here in Seward, and get everybody up to date on that. We've got some questions, obviously. So, Taylor, you've been the operations manager or involved with the City of Seward Electric Department for seems like a couple of years now, right?
Actually, just hit my 1 year mark.
Oh man,
did you?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. July 3rd was the day I showed up last year. So I'm contracted to the City of Seward from Matanuska Electric Association, and we've really enjoyed having the partnership to help out the City of Seward up to this point.
And this all came into being when the City of Seward transitioned from a local city or a locally hired. How's the position defined now? Let's just ask the question as far as why is Matanuska Electric involved instead of the way it used to be with just the department here local?
Right. So I think how this came to be is Matanuska Electric Association wasn't a bidder when they were trying to sell the electric department. And so the city was having a hard time filling the positions of both the director and the operations manager. And so they worked out a deal with MEA so that, basically my position and Ryan Hickey's position would, be able to get covered from another co-op. And so they worked out the deal with MEA just because they didn't really have a stake in the game during the sale.
So I guess it got to the point here as it is with a lot of the industries here, where it was just difficult to have a local hire. So they went out and contracted and found somebody from a utility that didn't have an interest in the last round of bidding for the sale of the utility. So kind of a neutral party.
Right. That's the way I understand it. Wasn't here when that happened, but I'm glad to be down here though. My family and I have loved living in Seward and helping, get these projects going to hopefully create, safe, reliable, affordable power for the people of Seward.
So moving into that area specifically, safe and reliable, and the costs of it, we're still contracting with Chugach Electric for the power, right? Chugach Electric Association. That's where we get our power from. And there's a new power cost agreement or the amount that Chugach Electric Association charges us has changed. It's been renegotiated. How did that?
Yep. What's going on? Everyone will be familiar with this by looking at their bill. So there's the cost of power adjustment. It's COPA. That's a line item on your bill. And so that is the cost of us buying the generation transmission from Chugach Electric. Now, we've been in discussions with Chugach Electric for the last year, and we just, at the last council meeting, got the new power sales agreement signed into law. And what's going to be great about the new agreement is that we've got a joint maintenance agreement under that with Chugach Electric. So before, basically, Chugach was in charge of all the transmission, the construction and maintenance and stuff between Dave's Creek substation, which is just a few miles down the Sterling Highway from the Y, to Line. And so we were paying a lot of money on, line maintenance, if poles had to be changed out or whatnot. So now we have the opportunity to do that work ourselves. And so we're going to work with Chugach Electric on a 5-year maintenance plan. But we've got some poles that have some ant damage, and we think that we're in a good position to change those poles out for a fraction of the cost.
Ant damage?
Yeah, ant damage.
So the ants are eaten into the actual wood then.
Yeah, at the base of the pole, so it compromises the structure of the pole. And
are these some new kind of ants, some kind of invasive species, or is this always been an issue?
Yeah, it's always been an issue.
I think Sterling has a hotter summer, therefore they have more.
Yeah, so this is by Moose Pass, kind of the backside of Moose Pass, but that's just an example of one of the projects that we can complete cheaper than if Chugach was to do it. And so we'll be able to do those kind of projects. And then before, we didn't really have net metering with Chugach Electric, so we have 15.6 megawatts at our diesel plant. And you've probably heard about the natural gas shortage in Cook Inlet. Yeah. And so if basically before, we would only get credit for whatever our total load was in Seward. So that's about 8 megawatts in the summertime, a little over 8 megawatts. And so if we sold 15.6 megawatts on the prior agreement, then we would still only be getting covered for our 8 megawatts. And so everything over 8 would just be like, free power for the rest of the rail belt. We weren't getting any money back for it. With this new agreement, it'll be a net metered agreement. So if we have to bring our diesels online when they curtail the natural gas, if they curtail the natural gas, then we'll actually get paid for all those extra kilowatt hours that we're sending back to the grid. Oh, which is a net benefit.
Well, that's a big deal. Yeah. Yeah.
And, there's some other small adjustments, but those are the two major ones that we're getting.
Those are good ones.
So if the shortage of natural gas, so Chugach Electric Association primarily gets their power from Beluga, from generators. Where's the power come from?
Yeah, Beluga is still a power plant, but it used to be a man power plant. They've got a 230 kVA line that runs over there, but so we get power from Bradley Lake, so that's about 20% of the hydro over there. And then you've got South Central Power Project in Anchorage. So if you're on Minnesota Drive, driving past Chugach Electric, that big power plant that's on your right, is the South Central Power Project. They've got the Cooper Lake Hydro, Eklutna Hydro, Plant 2 in Anchorage, and then Plant 2A that they acquired from ML&P. But then everything on the rail belt from Fairbanks down to Homer is also part of this rail belt transmission organization now. And so you can, buy and sell power throughout the whole intertie. And so that's one of the things that we were going to discuss today is not only did we create this power sales agreement with Chugach, but we also got inducted into the RTO. And so that means that everyone on this intertie line is that these are only the.
Can you explain what RTO is?
Yep, the Rail Belt Transmission Organization.
Okay.
So that became a real entity at some point in the recent past?
It did. Yeah. And so, Brian Hickey did most of the lifting on that, but we've been inducted into it. And so our transmission line from Fort Raymond up to Dave's Creek is now considered backbone transmission. And this still has to go through a legal review that may take up to 15 months at the Ratepayers Commission of Alaska, or the Regulatory Commission of Alaska. But if we make it through this in the next 15 months, then we just have to pay our share of the transmission, which is a very low percentage on the entire intertie. And so that basically could reduce our maintenance costs, from like $1 to $1.5 million a year for our transmission.
That's huge.
And so there's like these things that are happening kind of in the background that are going to lead to major cost savings, which, how that benefits the community is then we can lower rates.
Except that we're coming up on a shortage of natural gas. So it seems, so I was under the impression, just from a legacy perspective, that Beluga was the power plant, but now it sounds like there's other plants that are producing power using natural gas from Cook Inlet.
Yep. So
it was kind of centralized at some point, and then it kind of diversified.
Beluga is a highly strategic power plant, so it's like 130 miles southwest of Anchorage. Mm-hmm. It sits on the gas field.
Yes.
So the thought process was, by building the plant down there, and we had a big earthquake and the gas lines had to, have some pigs ran through them or something to inspect them, they can fire up Beluga before they can get the gas lines back up to Anchorage. And so then you can restore the power.
Gotcha.
Faster. So I don't think Beluga will ever go away. I mean, not speaking on behalf of Chugach Electric or anything, but I'm just going from my experience of working there for 8 years. And, it's a very strategic power plant. And I think,
but it's not the central part of the mix anymore.
Right.
Yeah. And then as far as the natural gas situation, if there's not something, what needs to take place for that to change, that mix to change, that dynamic to change? Is there more drilling required, or new discoveries, or both?
So as of right now, the rail belt and Seward's not in these discussions at all.
Sure.
But they're pursuing liquefied natural gas shipments into Nikiski. And these gas shipments basically come from like Asia and Australia. So Alaskans aren't going to have a ton of say on the price of the gas. I mean, it would fluctuate a little bit in Cook Inlet, but that's like as cheap as the gas is ever going to get for South Central, because it's right in South Central, right?
Yeah.
But then it sounds like this company called Glenfarne is going to build the large diameter pipeline from Point Thompson down to Nikiski. So we'll be exporting gas at some point. I'm not sure how fast that line's going to go in.
And Point Thompson is where?
On the North Slope.
Yeah.
Right next to Prudhoe.
So the gas line is becoming more tangible at this point then?
Yeah. I mean, we were at a conference a few months ago, and it sounds like this gas line's moving forward.
Okay.
And so they had to basically get a few more buyers lined up. But
well, it sounds like we're the buyers. I mean, if Cook Inlet can't step it up in some way, is Cook Inlet just exhausted at this point, as far as we can tell?
Yeah, I don't really have enough information.
Okay, all right.
Let you know about that.
Yeah,
I mean, there's probably a bunch of drilling engineers and stuff that work for Hillcorp and
Yeah.
Chevron and whatnot.
To get technical
questions, but I just know that what they're saying is that we're running out of gas, and if we have a really cold winter, they're going to curtail the power plants before they curtail home heat. So like in Seward, you don't really think about that because we're all on oil. But in Anchorage and Eagle River and the Valley, everyone's using gas, for
gas-fired boiler, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to curtail the electric before they curtail the home heat.
Sure.
And so that's where, we've got 15.6 megawatts sitting here on our diesel plant. And so we can help out, not a lot, but, if they want to, if we wanted to, we could heat up probably, Cooper Landing to Girdwood on the intertie just fine.
And with the new accounting situation, in excess of 8 megawatts, we'll get paid for it. Whereas before it was just kind of disappearing, it was kind of evaporating, the excess over 8 megawatts.
Yeah. So like, for instance, every month we run up the generators, for a few hours, and then we push a load back into the system. And so whenever we do that, like, we're getting like the credit, like we're not, bringing power down from the intertie during that time period, but we're also not getting paid for the extra megawatts we're pushing out. And so with this new agreement, as long as we schedule it ahead of time, then we'll get paid, for those extra kilowatt hours that get pumped onto the rest of the grid.
And our generation plant here in Seward, it's not something you could turn up or turn down. You turn it on, it does 16 megawatts. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, 15.6 is our absolute max.
And the city uses at a typical, just averaged over the year, how many megawatts?
Well, so like in real time right now, we're at 8.5 megawatts in real time.
Okay.
So I could guess do the math.
Well, no, we don't. We're just looking
for the year.
We're just looking at ballpark right now. Yeah, just trying to get an idea of how this all works. So now, if you turn on the power plant, you're using 8.5 here, then you're going to get credit for the other 7.5, 7 whatever and change that go out onto the grid, onto the intertie. So what happened to wheeling rates? Is that still part of the deal, or is the RTO kind of changed that?
So with the RTO, then the wheeling is going to be going away, and we're all going to be paying in like our percentage, for the members of the RTO,
right?
And so that's where our major savings come in. I think, that kind of brings us into, the next topic, I think, is the contract agreement we just struck with the IBEW.
Right. Yeah. Another cost. Yeah.
Yep. So, prices, of labor have been slowly rising in Alaska over the years. And what we found when I came to Seward is we were at the lower end of the rail belt. And so a lot of people, I think, have been reaching out to you guys as well as me and wondering why this fourth lineman has taken, 19 months. I know we actually don't have an applicant yet, but the job posting's been alive for 19 months now. And it's basically because we had the lowest pay on the rail belt. So with the cost savings that we're taking from these other projects, we were able to create a deal with the IBW down here to increase those wages so we're competitive with the other utilities on the rail belt. And hopefully we'll be able to fill that fourth position. And the other exciting thing that came out of our contract negotiations is that we'll be able to basically hire a local, maybe someone that's just getting into the workforce and bring them on as an apprentice, and then send them up to Anchorage. And they go through the normal apprenticeship process, which is going to the IBW lineman school and taking these 6-month calls to get all their hours. So it's, kind of like going through a 4-year degree to become a lineman. You have 8,000 hours that are required of work, but it's not just 8,000 hours of any work. There's very specific tasks that they have to complete, so many hours of hot work. That's where you're using the hot stick to, transfer lines and stuff. And then they need so much overhead work, underground work, substation work, and transmission and distribution work to get well-rounded in the field. And then once they've completed this huge checklist and they've got their 8,000 hours, then they can journey out. And at that point, then this person that we hire as an apprentice can come back to Seward and work here, hopefully in their hometown, in the electric department. So that's
so that fourth position's still open then.
Fourth position still open.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping to fill that fourth position and then with a journeyman lineman, but also get someone hired on as an apprentice. And that's kind of like long-term planning, because they're not going to basically be able to work here as a journeyman lineman for 4 years, but that's kind of reinvesting in the community. And the main problem when people apply for jobs down here is then they look at Zillow. The houses cost so much. Well,
that's the thing I was going to ask about the contract negotiations. You got the wages up closer to the median for the whole rail belt, but is there some sort of differential for Seward? Because Seward is kind of an exception to.
We didn't push it that far. So,
there's no different, there's no COLA or
there's no cost of living adjustment. But basically on the fourth year of the contract, so you negotiate for a set number of years. And at the fourth year of the contract, we're going to be at the higher end, not the highest end on the rail belt, but the higher of the end. The problem is the people that are still higher than us have a lower cost of living. But I think this is like the best we can do right now to get
this apprenticeship. Is that somebody that what experience do they have to have? And have you reached out to the Abtech electrical department about that?
Yeah, so to become an apprentice, all you have to do is apply for the job and then go through an interview. And what we're looking for is someone that has a history of working hard, that has been working through high school, maybe as a deckhand or working for some construction companies. If someone has the sense of agency to go out and get their Class A CDL, that always helps. But you're looking for someone that's going to be able to work in the rain and the snow and some of the worst weather conditions, and be fine with it.
Yeah, be a self starter.
100%.
Yeah.
We have at least the number's probably gone up in the last week, but when I wrote my last report for the city manager, we had 54 service requests in. So how the service requests work is you apply for your new service, and then Kari, our field engineer, designs the service. And then once the payment's made for the estimate, it goes to the line crew, and they manage all these services as they come in. And so your service just goes to the end of the stack. But I've never had to question if the work was being done, because these guys are always on top of it and, just digging in one service after another. And I mean, I think this year is probably going to be one of the records for new construction in Seward. But I mean, we're probably by the end of this year, probably looking at like 80 new services.
They come in
installed.
and they ask for a particular size of pressure treated post for their meter. Do you remember what that size post is?
A lot of them are a 4x4. Sometimes they're 6x6. It just really depends what they're building out. I mean, you've probably seen the tiny home neighborhood off of Johnson.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did
That
see
went
that
in.
the other day. Yeah.
So we actually designed like a multiple gang meter base for those, so that we just basically pull in one service for each 10 homes. And then there's like a 400 amp bus, and then we got
for each 10 homes. How many homes are there?
well, they started with 10, and I think the developer is going to be building another 10 or 20 on that lot. But
You can see that from Nash. It's out there by
yeah, so like a meter base like that's a little heavier, so you probably get like 6x6s, a couple of them, and then build out some backing on it and whatnot. But there's like designs for all the different meter base setups you could have. But
yeah, so it seems like we're getting quite a bit more housing and just construction in general, but the cost of real estate doesn't seem to be going down any. So we'll see. We're gonna have to hit some sort of sweet spot, I guess, before we get a moderation in actual. That's one of those costs that you have to deal with when like you're mentioning, somebody looks at a job in Seward and they look at Zillow, and there's a pretty long reach that you have to work on that math there to make that work out. So as far as so between the contract that we've just with the IBW that the city has just negotiated and the power sales agreement, so that at the power sales agreement level, are we going to see? I think you mentioned that the cost of electricity went down a couple extra cents over the last winter. Is that
yeah? So during the winter months, so we have a summer rate,
Mhm.
and the summer rates, and this is from the city of Seward side. You still have COPA that's separate, so that gets recalculated on a regular basis between 11 and 15 cents. But then the Seward rate in the summertime for residential users, it's 18 cents. It was 14 cents in the winter. We dropped that to 12 cents. And the idea being, if we drop it in the wintertime, it's the people, they're burning electric heaters or whatnot, then they have more affordable power, where then there's more people in town in the summertime. And so with a higher rate in the summertime, we can offset the winter. But that being said, in the next year, we'll hopefully have all these accounts straightened out. So we just hired 2 new guys for the billing department. They've been doing an awesome job. We have a billing specialist and a utility cashier over in the electric department. So they're taking like deep audit dives into our billing system and finding any errors they can find and remedying those errors. So there's been people that have gotten rebates and some other people had to pay more. And anyway, so we're making sure that this is all fair and equitable by making sure that all the accounts are straightened out. And then once we get the new meters installed, hopefully next year, we'll have enough data to look at all the different rate classes and see to make sure they're fair and equitable. And then we'll figure out, how much revenue do we have coming in, where are operations cost at, and we'll be able to figure out where that the rates need to be for each class. And so I'm really excited to do that. But between now and then, I think there's a lot of catching up that we have to do. Last time I was here, we were talking about vegetation management. That's like one of the things that I worry about the most, because we had the scan done.
It was so bad before. So
Right.
that moves on to the map thing.
Yeah,
so one more thing about the cost. When the cruise ships come in, could you explain how the backup batteries with the spikes will be flattened more and it will actually save us money?
So, the cruise ships are in port, the batteries are just going to offset some of the demand coming from the cruise ship, because we're basically transferring 8 megawatts of load from the cruise ship onto our system. And so the batteries are going to balance that out as they come online.
Kind of like a surge protector.
Yeah. So where the batteries really benefit us is in the off season from the cruise ships. So we'll be able to sell our 12 megawatt 2-hour batteries as what's called spin reserve. And so every utility is required to have so much reserve spinning. So a lot of them have like a LM, 6,000 or 2,500 spinning, burning fuel just in case a load comes on the system. So we can actually sell our battery capacity as the spin reserve. And so they'll pay us for, those megawatts just to have it sitting there. And so, that's where we really can, offset some costs by having the batteries there. In the future, if this works out, it probably makes sense to build another battery bank over by Fort Raymond, and then we could do it year round,
I kind of like that because the cruise ship one is like in the line of a tsunami.
Potential tsunami, yeah. So, okay, yeah. So then, so just to get back to the power sales agreement just for a second. So we're getting control of the costs of the power and the rates. What are we looking forward to here? And then under the contracting agreement, you said there's a position open. Are you fully staffed other than that one lineman, or are you looking at, what are the staffing costs looking like, or running the department costs looking like, in combination with the rates? And what are we looking at? We're looking at paying higher rates or lower rates. Where's it going?
Yeah, it's kind of
that was it.
it's a loaded one.
Yeah.
But,
give the dude a break.
How about what I can say is with the having more skilled labor in saves us money, because then we don't have to contract as much work out. Hiring contractors is very expensive. But at the same time, and I didn't put this on the list of topics, but it's also comes down to accounting practices. And so we're working another project to get on what's called the Uniform System of Accounts. And so when we are working a project, like a capital project that has, material in the project that's going to have a depreciation life to it, like if we install poles or transformers or underground cable or whatnot, we'll be able to take that, capitalize it, and put it towards like a short-term line of credit. And then the labor goes to that as well. And then you finance it based on the life cycle of the asset installed. And so it'd probably be like a 6-hour class to like fully explain how this works, but this is how like all utilities work, to include other municipalities.
That sounds like a better management of money than.
And so the way we've been doing a lot of the financials right now is like you balance your personal checkbook. We're paying for everything up front in rates, but we could just pay the principal and interest off of some of these low interest loans for the capital assets over that cycle.
Come out ahead.
And then all we have to pay out of our expense side is, the principal and interest on our debt. And so that actually is how like Chugach keeps their costs down for the rates.
Okay, great. Well, let's talk about some fun stuff.
We're moving on to maps.
Yeah, mapping. How's the map? How's the mapping relate to what you're doing at the electric department, and how can it improve our service?
Yeah, so we have a GIS module through Esri, and if you want to come up with a maintenance plan, or let's say downtown Seward, we want to go overhead to underground with all the alleyways and stuff to reduce our liability for trees and whatnot, you got to start with like having a decent map. And so in the past, they've had the CAD files, and they moved from AutoCAD and migrated a bunch of those maps to GIS. And then we found out that our maps weren't very accurate, and there's not the level of detail that you'd need in there. So Alaska Remote Imaging just started a project and they're going to be here the next 2.5 months, but going through our entire system, truing it up, looking up each pole, saying, hey, okay,
so they're going out in the field and they're saying this line is above ground from point A to point B, and then at point B it goes down underground.
Exactly.
And crosses the street or whatever, and then that'll be on a map that you can. Yeah.
And then they're also taking the data off the poles with the birthmarks on, how old's the pole, what is the height of the pole, what class is the pole, taking pictures of the serial numbers and everything on the transformers, data plates, and getting all that information into the map. And then next winter, the line crew and our field engineer will go out and actually pull cutouts down and get the fuse sizes off of them, get all the phases off the lines, and so we can have this map that's 100% accurate.
Then you'll have transmitters, and maybe they're kind of they're aging on the transformers.
Yeah, so if we can figure out the age of our poles and transformers and everything, then we can come up with these maintenance plans on how we're going to change them out. And does it make sense to change them out with overhead again, or should we go underground? And having the exact locations of all of our equipment is really important, especially if you're wanting to do an overhead underground project, so that you can figure out, do I have enough room to put underground transformers in, or where does the cable need to go, and all that kind of stuff. So just having good mapping is a basic requirement of coming up with a good maintenance plan.
Yeah, sounds like it'll be extremely useful to get that.
And then a side project they're doing for us. So we just opened an RFP to rebuild the Spring Creek substation. It's part of this infrastructure upgrade. And so when they were here on Friday talking to me about this, mapping plan, they said, we can do a metadata study of your substation. I'm like, what's a metadata study? Basically, they fly a drone through the substation and get all of the measurements and nameplates and everything. And then you can just send that file to the bidders, and they can pull a measurement wherever they want in the substation. They can look at what you have. And so that's probably going to save us thousands, because we'll have a more accurate bid from the construction companies.
Yeah.
So those are just like add-on benefits that we're getting from Alaska Remote Imaging that you don't even think about, when you're putting a project together.
Right. So you just mentioned, kind of skip around here on this. You mentioned rebuilding Spring Creek, the substation there. Is that because it's going to be able to handle more power because of the Nash Road transmission upgrade? Is that kind of what you were aiming at, what you're engineering toward? Or
Yep. So it's we've got a 115 kV line that comes down to the Lawing substation just south of Trail Lake, and then it steps down to 69,000 volts. And so
at Lawing,
yeah. So we got a step down line. So our plan is we've got the new transformer for Lawing. We're going to rebuild that substation to 115, then convert Fort Raymond to 115, and then we have to get Spring Creek rebuilt to 115 to have this whole grid, the whole transmission system at 115. So what we have left to do, Fort Raymond's been rebuilt, and it's the dual voltage on the high side of the transformer, so they're running at 69 right now. Then we have to work on the Lawing substation, which will probably happen next summer. Rebuild 2 miles of the transmission line from the Seward Highway to Sawmill Creek along Nash Road and reinsulate that to 115. And then we're going to actually move the transformer from Lawing over to Spring Creek and have parallel transformers at Spring Creek, which are going to increase the capability of that substation. But then we have to get some new transruptors out there, new control building, re-insulate the rack. So it's a pretty big project. Yeah. And so we just put that RFP out for bid. The Lawing substation, the engineering's done, and we're just getting ready to award the construction side. So bringing 115 all the way in to Fort Raymond, that'll be a big deal, right? Because the higher you run higher voltage, then it's you lose. There's less loss, right? Yeah, and we can run more amperage through, or more megawatts through the 115, and so that comes into play. The cruise ship substation is going to be at 115 as well. So we have to have all these other substations and the transmission line projects done before we heat up the new substation for the cruise ships. But then let's say we're looking down the road 5 to 10 years, and we're able to pull off some of the hydro projects and possibly get a small modular nuclear reactor in Seward and stuff. We're going to have the ability to push that power back up to the intertie, and we could actually be like one of the power producers on the rail belt, which also lowers the cost for everyone in Seward. Yep. So we're going to put this generation study together and kind of look at every different dynamic of generation that's possible in Seward, and figure out what pencil's the best for us. But right now we're looking at a couple of hydroelectric options.
Where's that? Just going off on a little bit of a rabbit trail. Where's nuclear generation? Like you're talking the modular nuclear generation. Where is that at in terms of practicality? Are they making those units now, or is it still in beta? Where's it at?
So if you have a military installation, there's a company called BWXT, and so they've made the small modular reactors that are in all the naval ships. And so they're actually starting to, land their reactors on military installations. So, if the Coast Guard was to come back.
So they could park one out at Spring Creek then, and then with the 115, you could just back power, run that power through the whole
potentially
grid. Yeah.
So if the Coast Guard comes back, what?
Well, so BWXT is just one company, for example, that's permitted to be on a military installation, but they're not quite permitted for civilian use yet. And so I think like the huge breakthrough on the nuclear technology is these SMRs, the small modular reactors. Yeah. And like the ones that we were looking at the sustainability conference don't even have like water cooling. They've got like the same type of rods that they use on the tundra to keep it from thawing out under the pipeline. And then if an earthquake happens or a tsunami happens, they basically work like a circuit breaker. It just breaks apart, and there's no chance of a meltdown or anything. Now, these are getting studied at the Idaho National Labs down in Idaho. And there's probably 10 companies that are working for all their permitting and stuff. So I think you're going to see a bunch of this, especially with AI. Like there's these huge data centers going in everywhere. And so the AI companies are really pushing for nuclear because it's, affordable, it's carbon free. And these things are easily deployed because they're basically the size of a Connex box.
Realistically, the Mount Marathon hydro project would probably come forth way before that.
100%.
That's
well, that's what. Yeah,
what's the timeline?
Going back to old school, hydro. So
tell us a little bit of history on that. It was running the town in 1915.
Well, so the original plant. I don't know if you've ever hiked up the Lowell Creek Canyon, and you know where that concrete structure is.
Yep.
So I was just reading a report the other night. So there was the hydroelectric plant was running a 250 kW generator that was Seward's main power, and I believe it ran to 1939. I need to get some more information on that. But in the U.S. Geological Survey report I was reading from 1915, they were talking about having problems with frazzle in the penstock, which I was like, what's frazzle? So I looked it up, and it's icing inside the pipe.
Sounds like the name of a kitten.
So if the temperatures dip below 32 degrees, there's ice buildup in their penstock, and then that was breaking apart and hitting the Pelton turbine. So the Pelton turbine, I believe, was kind of down where the campground is now in the bay. And so they ran the penstock
to the flume. Yeah.
I need to talk to the Historical Society to see if we can't get more pictures on that project.
I found some good pictures that I'll send your way.
But the plant that
Kent used to have some pictures at AvTech in the electric section over there. I don't know if he passed them along to the Historical Society or not, but he's still around. So I know there's pictures. I've seen them. Yeah.
So that plant was actually at Lowell Creek. The plant that we're planning on refurbing is the one that's on Marathon. So the reservoir is at the top of the Jeep Trail.
It's kind of sanded, sedimented in. You're going to have to get up there and clear it out, right?
You'll probably see us up there in the next few months with the excavator, getting that mucked out and washed. And we have to get some measurements off the intake. So the intake's actually sitting under that sediment.
Yeah.
But we have pictures. It was installed in 1981, so it's not that old. And it ran till 1991.
It's kind of a limited volume and limited flow, though, up there, isn't it?
Yeah. So, what we're proposing is that the Pelton turbine at the bottom of the race trail, it's like in that little wood building.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an 850 horsepower Pelton turbine, and we could probably get 600 kW off a generator, but a 250 was installed because it was a grant for the hospital at the time. From what we understand, there's probably some information we don't have at this point, but so we're going to start working on cleaning it up, and then also work on some flow studies from Scheffler Creek to see if we can add a diversion just for a little bit of water, not like draining Scheffler Creek and the lagoon, but if we can divert some of the water from Scheffler Creek down to the reservoir then that would give us more water in the reservoir to run, more kilowatts out of the plant. So we're going to study this, but this already exists. And so it's just kind of taking all the valves apart and stuff, cleaning it up. And
it tops out at 600 kilowatts.
So the generator that's in there right now is 250.
So you could probably get a megawatt or two out of it if you spruced it up.
No, I think the most we can get is a 600 kW.
Okay.
But I mean, that's still 600 kW.
No, yeah. It's
And,
half a megawatt over. Yeah.
Kind of our goal is to work with Avtech on this. And
That's cool.
under the shore power, we also have like a sub grant that'll be going to Avtech for a course on like battery operation. And then we're also trying to figure out possibly a way to get the wind turbine either fixed or replaced. And then if
I get a lot of questions about that too.
Yeah, but if we can expand that to where the students can use this hydroelectric plant to learn about hydro, then we're hitting like 3 different things off that one sub grant. And then you'll have, a workforce that knows about maintenance on these battery systems and maintenance on hydro and maintenance on wind. And but anyway, we got some meetings with Avtech coming up on that, and we'll see what's possible. And we also need to follow the rules on the EPA grant. So
gotcha. So the just talking a little bit about the windmill there, the wind turbine. My understanding is that it costs money when the wind's not blowing hard enough. It costs money to run it. Is that kind of I don't understand why it's not.
So it hasn't ran since I've been
why
here.
is it not spinning all the time? Or not ready to roll. They've got it locked in place right now, right?
Yeah, I believe there's a part that broke in it that they don't manufacture anymore.
Oh.
And so we're just trying to figure out a way to help them get some money.
They have a machinist class. Make the part.
Well, yeah, CNC, or 3D printer. Come on.
But I mean, so when you're coming into Seward, and they fixed it like a few weeks ago, but the sign was like crooked, the Welcome to Seward sign from the state.
Yes.
Yes.
And
I
went and fixed
got
that.
a picture of that. Yeah.
that's on the right side of the road. Then you have the broken wind turbine on the left side of the road. And I'm like, you know what? It'd be great to have the sign fixed. So check that one's good now. But now if we can just help Avtech figure out a way to fix the wind turbine, and when people drive into Seward, they don't see that just sitting there.
That'd be great.
Speaking of lights or electric and Avtech, that maybe they could help with the runway lights.
That's a state thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
state doesn't
Avtech
work
state
like-
too. So
That's
Yeah, they're both
different
states.
that's like
conversation.
Chinatown.
Maybe
That's the
together.
airport. It's Chinatown, Jake. So so we've got Mount Marathon Hydro projects. Sounds like
We're on the next page.
it's spinning up. Yeah, I know, but I just wanted to recap on the hydro. Then we're looking down the road at Lowell Creek, and then there was kind of some noise off in the distance about 4th of July Creek. Is that feasible? Kind of just been backbenched or backburnered at this point, or
Yeah. So what we want to do is look at Godwin and 4th of July for not damming, but like run of the river hydros, just to see, how feasible would it be? How many megawatts could we get? So Kat Sorensen, Brian Hick, and I went to Cordova a few weeks ago, and they've got these 2 different hydro plants, Humpback Creek and Power Creek, and they're run of the river. And I believe one's like 8 megawatts, the other one's 6 megawatts. And they've got on the Power Creek a problem with some rocks. And so they've got this giant Kevlar sack that's like their dam. And then whenever the sediment starts building up, they deflate this thing, and the water just drags all the rocks over it and cleans it out. And then they just reinflate it and get the power plant running again. So it's like,
amazing.
we got some rock problems in Seward. I mean,
This might work. Yeah.
I think Power Creek, and this is some like 20 years ago, but when they rebuilt it, it was $23 million. So if we could build something, over at Godwin or 4th of July or whatever for 27 or $30 million, I mean, the return on investment in that's probably less than 10 years. So,
And that would be largely seasonal, though, right? Or is there enough melt to enough flow?
We don't have that information yet. I mean, if you go down to the base of 4th of July Creek where they both flow in, it's flowing all year. But it really, last year was a one-off because we had so much rain.
Yeah.
But like right now, I mean, it's just ripping from all the snow that's built up and the glacier, and everything. So even if it was seasonal and, we could put 8 to 10 megawatts, let's say 8 months out of the year, it would definitely pencil. But we're going to have a study done. So we're going to look at our current diesel plant. We'll look at the Marathon Hydro, the Godwin, add SMRs to the mix, also add the idea is to possibly put some generation on the other side of the bay if we can get a gas line to Seward. But, you know, that's
pretty speculative at this point.
It's over my head, but there's a lot of movement in the natural gas area right now.
Well, if they bring Point Thompson down to the Anchorage area, then there's a lot more volume and it's longevity. I mean, you know, the length of the, you know, the supply is going to be there for a long, long time. So
it'd basically be like busting a pipeline from the Mystery Creek area to Seward.
Yeah.
But, you know, big projects used to happen. The joke's been, you know, back when Wally Hickel was governor,
yeah,
they just got the cat out and dropped the blade and made projects happen, you know. And
yeah. Well,
so we're kind of excited just to, you know, get some of these projects going.
Want to get arrested.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely, you know, in today's world, you get permits and stuff. But the thing is, like, we have to start looking into, like, not our generation, but what's going to happen to electric costs and stuff for our kids and their kids' generations. And when they built Bradley Lake, it was the most expensive project in Alaska, and the highest price per kilowatt hour at the time because they had super cheap gas. And
but it worked out in the long run.
Today, it's the cheapest power we have on the rail belt,
and
it's carbon free.
Takes a little bit of vision,
So if we just plan ahead, you know, for a few generations and make some of these decisions now, I think we're going to be setting our kids up for success someday.
And just to touch on hydro, so all the projects outside north of town are dead at this point.
So Homer Electric still has the permit for Grant Lake. And I don't know a whole lot about that project.
Did they ever put the road in, or they just,
no, nothing's been done. I think they've done some studying on it and stuff, but
so it's still sort of alive, but not really moving at this point.
And the Snow River project pretty much fizzled out. Yeah,
there's a lot of resistance to that, a lot of opposition, and maybe some valid questions. All righty, well, we talked a little bit about vegetation management and mapping and whatnot. So you know, of course, part of the GIS thing is you can track what sections of the line have been cleared and whatnot too. So what are we looking at as far as the vegetation situation? You had the tree cutting guys here.
And we're having them, when they're coming back?
Yeah, they should be coming back any week now. They pulled off to do a project up in Golden Valley. And then once they get back to Seward, they'll be here for the rest of the year. But we identified so many areas that have trees within a foot of the line that we have
all of Forest Acres.
Well, we got Forest Acres.
Forest Acres looks pretty good.
It looks pretty good now, but when they started, it did not.
But, you know, I'm looking at the Camelot neighborhood, Old Exit. We still have a lot of trees in the line right in town. You know, we're undergrounding the part of the line off of Lear Road. And while we were looking at some poles the other day, I mean, there's like trees touching the power lines. And so anyway, Alaska Tree Service has plenty of work to do. But with the purchase of the Overstory software, we give Alaska Tree Service an iPad that has Overstory on it, and so they're going to all the red sections on the map. That means there's a tree within a couple inches of the line, and then as they clear it, they're able to mark that section's clear, and so we can kind of track their progress in real time. And you know, so far we've got about 11 miles so far, and this is like what I have to reiterate to people. This isn't really vegetation management in the regular utility sense. Well, it's logging.
Yeah.
So they're taking down like 30-year growth that's been under the power lines, and you know, if the line crew goes and they just cut the branches back a little bit, branches are going to be back up probably next year because we're like rainforest, you know, it grows really fast. And so by taking the whole tree out at the base and going sky to ground, we're saving ourselves a lot of money in the long run and increasing our reliability and safety and all that good stuff. So we're excited to have them back.
Yeah, they don't leave a mess at all either. They're really efficient, really safety oriented.
Yeah, it was very I don't know if entertaining is the right word, but watching them work along Nash Road,
impressed.
They were really visible working by the side of the road with all the big trees. It's kind of scary situations. taking down huge trees chunk by chunk.
So one of their next projects when they get back from Golden Valley is going to be above Kenai Lake. So at like mile 18 and 19, they have to like hike up there, and then all these trees, these are hemlocks.
There's some crazy situations up there. Yeah.
Yep. But that's all got to be done by like hand with roping the trees off and stuff. So it's probably going to be some slow going, but there's all these trees that are within striking distance of our line that are declining. Some of them have the beetle kill, but that would be a good project, but we'll definitely get some drone footage to share with the community.
So we went through this, not to change the subject, we went through this kind of round of, there was some controversy involved, but it was just kind of seemed like a huge deal. We changed out all our meters back a few years back. It's probably been 10 years. I can't even remember how long. It's been a while. Now it looks like we're going to be going to some more sophisticated or more modern meters. Is that so? We're going to have to go through it and replace all the meters again. Is that what we're looking at?
Right. So just to back up, we got the current meters for free from
Kodiak
Electric.
Yeah.
So we kind of accepted
skated on that. Yeah.
Well, so we got them at the end of their useful life. They've been working, but so they're basically RF meters. The meter that you currently have in your house is called AMR. So it has RF, an RF signal, but it only sends. It doesn't receive. And so every month when we do the meter reads, we get in the truck, put the antenna on the roof, and drive around, and we collect the reads from the AMRs. But we're not able to like give the customer like data and see in real time, usage and whatnot. So when I first got here, pretty much everyone that I talk to complains about never knowing what their electric bill is going to be like. And so with the new meters, that's the same RF frequency, all that stuff, but it reads back and forth in real time, and we don't have to drive a vehicle anymore because we'll put these collector antennas up. So the meters basically bounce around each other in a mesh pattern, and then the last meter goes to the antenna, brings it back into a cloud drive, and then if you have your member app, then you're going to be able to see like what you're using at your house in real time and never have any questions about.
So is the member app, is this a new thing that's coming along down the pike?
Yeah, it'll come. We have to get the meters installed first.
Oh, so it'll come from the manufacturer then basically.
When will the meters be here?
So they're under RFP right now, and so it closes at the end of September. I'm thinking the month of October is probably gonna take a month to score the 3 different vendors, and then hopefully we can have a contract awarded in November, and then it's just however long the meters take to actually come in and organize the work. So we have a contractor come in to actually change the meters out, so they can go and take the physical last read of each meter, put it in their software, and then put the new meter in. And so there's no billing issues, during the transfer. But we've definitely had a spike of people that are interested in their usage. And I actually bought this boomerang device that it's a power quality device that we can put behind the meter that has a cellular signal in it. And then it sends the voltage, the current, and the real power back to my office, and I can like give you a printout of what's going on in your house. And we've done some troubleshooting with people. There's one guy that had a heating element in his hot water tank that was failing, and we were able to get that troubleshot through the boomerang and whatnot.
Can you recommend so there I know you can buy those units too, commercial, for on the consumer level. Do you have some recommended units like you could put on your website or something like that for people who want to have real-time monitoring of their power in their house?
Well, we'll have it soon anyway.
Yeah.
Well, you'll be able to see all that data with the AMIs, but
okay,
they're not a sponsor of mine, but Sense It. It's $220 on Amazon.
Okay,
and it connects to your Wi-Fi in your house. And if you're not good with electrical stuff, I'd recommend you hire an electrician to install it. But there's basically a
couple loops you put on your conductor.
Yeah, there's a current transformer that goes over each one of your legs, and then you have to install a breaker that's the power supply for this unit, and then you just drill a hole and put the antenna in, and you connect it to the app, and it'll actually tell you what you have running in your house, whether it's appliances.
How do you spell that?
Sense It.
S-E-N.
Yeah, S-E N-C-E it.
Okay,
all in one word.
Sounds good.
But anyway, I've given a couple people the lead on that thing, but I installed one at a house one time and it worked pretty good. So
I'm sure what we've been talking about is grist for a lot of questions and a lot of there's obviously there'll be people with concerns about the meters and whatnot. What do we got coming up as far as how can you get a hold of the department? What kind of public outreach are you doing here in the near future?
Well, so if everyone hasn't gotten their postcard, they should be getting it soon. But we have a survey that's out and just kind of asking the community for feedback and what you want to see from your electric company. You know, there's some options down the road. It's like, do you like it the way it is? Do you want to start your own community co-op? Do you want to sell to another co-op? Do you want to start a corporation under the city that's separated from the rest of the city? You know, there's like AWU up in Anchorage.
What is AWU?
So it's
AWW.
the Anchorage wastewater utility.
Okay.
Water
is
and wastewater
is
utility.
there funding
Yeah.
available, or how would we go about if we were going to do a co-op? Does that mean we would buy the electric? The
So
users, how does that work?
yeah, so how that would work is all the community members would basically elect a board. I'm not sure if that first board's elected or appointed, or anyway, we'd have to go. And most of the co-ops started in the 40s, so it's kind of before my time a little bit.
Well, by the way nonprofits work, which is what a co-op is basically, is you have a board that forms it, and then they can proceed however they want. You just
Yeah, so you'd like have districts, and so the nice part about a local co-op down here is I hear a lot of feedback from people who live outside of town. Like, we don't have a say in the electric department because we can't vote in the city. So if you had a co-op down here, the people that live out of town, like, Lowell Point could be its own district. The Bear Creek area could be a district. Primrose could be a district, and everyone elects their board member for the board of directors, and then you have representation. And then it's just kind of like running a city where there's certain things that'll come up that require a membership vote. Otherwise, you're voting for your representation, through your board member for your vote. And so anyway, and then, being a nonprofit, you get access to the USDA, cheaper financing through like the USDA, CFC, or CoBank. But
which hasn't been touched by any of these, so that's still a viable thing. They're not looking at disbanding or stopping that kind of financing. That's still a going concern. There's no budget cuts that are going to affect that kind of financing.
Oh no, the National Rural Electric Co-op Association is the most powerful lobbying association in Washington.
Oh
Wow.
So you'll never see anything happen to the co-ops.
So by low interest, what do you mean? How low? Or
Yeah, they're just, the interest rates are typically artificially low. Like, so right now it'd be like 1.5% to 2% for getting your long-term loans. And it's it was set up through the USDA because a lot of the co-ops across the country started in little farm towns, and then they grew out, and a lot of them today are still very small. In Alaska, I think Chugach Electric is one of the largest co-ops in America.
wow.
But you go down to lower 48 and they'll have a small service area, and a lot of them started with telephone, bringing the telephone lines down a fence wire to connect all the neighbors on a kind of a party line. And then they got into the electrical in the 1930s, and the rest is history.
So it sounds like the co-op model is kind of something that everybody gravitates towards. So as you mentioned, there are different options, but that one seems to be one that seems to work. As far as getting the community involved in this, it seems to a lot of times, whatever community initiative it is, it seems to be a matter of timing, not having events where everybody can participate that aren't in a time of year when there's not as many people here, or that there's something else going on, that kind of thing. So is it up to the community to organize this? Is the city going to organize this? How is this going to as far as trying to figure out something as a community, how do you see that we should proceed? Is there going to be like town halls, meetings, whatnot?
Yeah, 100%. So we were thinking about that, and so we hired Northern Compass, and so they're a kind of a community organizing, outfit. And so they worked with, I think it was like Harris or something is sending these surveys out. But so we're going to start with these surveys.
Okay.
And then once we start getting the feedback from the surveys, we'll look for trends. And then we'll set some town halls up based on the surveys. And, so Northern Compass will probably be booking the Ray building. And then anyone who wants to talk, can come ask questions. We'll have the list of topics that were from the survey that we want to focus on, but we'll still take other questions. I really want to get Clay Copland. He's the CEO of the Cordova Electric Cooperative over here. So with their electric cooperative, they were able to drive. And so Cordova is not on the rail system either, right? So the rail belt. So they're completely islanded, but they were able to drive the residential rates down to 23 cents a kilowatt hour. And then they've got a block rate so that after you burn 1,000 kilowatt hours, it goes down to 6 cents. So that kind of goes back to like the PACAB crew for the heat pumps. It's like that heat pump thing is kind of solved in Cordova. But what we need to figure out is, what can we do looking forward to get our rates so they're the lowest on the rail belt? And
so we're at about what, 33 cents, 30 somewhere in that range, about a kilowatt
in
hour
the summertime. It depends on.
And Cordova's at 23.
Yeah.
Wow. A big difference.
But then so I want Clay to hopefully come over here at one of the town halls and just show what Cordova's done, because they've used their decreased rates as an economic driver for the town. So they've got 5 canneries, they've got these people making yarn and breweries and all the stuff going on. I mean, Cordova's smaller than Seward, but they don't really get much for tourism. It didn't seem like
they have a community. They actually kind of kick our ass as far as community.
Well, they don't have the dilution. I mean, we have identity issues here. We're too close to Anchorage.
They have a huge community center. Yeah.
So we got a lot of Anchorage influence here, and then
So if this community was able to band together, there's almost like nothing we can't do, right? And so I think that's the goal, like moving forward with no matter what the community chooses, from electric department, we just have to keep planning for the future, figuring out these different projects, whether it's, hydro or, nuclear or whatever, where we can get our generation costs down. And once we get the cost down, I mean, there's probably industries and businesses that we don't even know about right now that'll show up. Another thing that Clay did over there is they have a Green Spark data center. And so this data center hooks onto the fiber, speeds up the light.
In Cordova?
Yeah. And so this one data center, I believe it's like 10 megawatts, but they buy 10 megawatts of power from the company. And so that's offsetting all the residential rates because you have like this big suck of, kilowatts going into the data center. And it's just stuff like that. Like they're really good at looking forward, and, it'd just be fun to do the same thing. I mean, I think everyone that works in the electric department looks forward to working on all these projects and stuff down here. And, and everyone in the electric department's a member of the community and wants lower priced power too. So if everyone works together on this, I think we can make it happen.
Do you think the city of Seward would ever give a break for businesses that are open year round that are smaller businesses? Like I mean, my house uses more electric than the business, but yet the business is more because it's higher business rate per kilowatt per hour, and it's another $20 to read the meter. Do you think the city would ever give a break to year-round businesses or to senior citizens or something like that?
Yeah, so like a small general account is already getting a break because you've got, you're paying basically 18 cents a kilowatt hour to a certain point, and then it drops down. And I can't remember what it drops to, but
when you use so
10.
much, which
Yeah.
doesn't help the real small ones.
Yeah. So the thing about electric rates is you can create whatever kind of rate you want, but it has to be fair and equitable to all the other rates. And so that's kind of the sticking point. And
yeah, everybody has to pay the same. Yeah, in a class. Yeah, and you have to define your classes. So they were talking about. So when the rates went up back a couple of years ago, I guess they were talking about doing some sort of special rate for low income or something like that, and then they figured out they couldn't do that because it would be preferential rate setting for at the consumer level. So,
well, there's programs like within the state too to offset if you're low income.
Oh yeah.
And so I think maybe one of the things is like a lot of people don't know about those programs, and so maybe getting it out there more. But
for heating assistance, there is, and then we have the highest rate in the state of low income housing, and
Per
people
capita,
that qualify,
Per capita.
and people that by far, and people that qualify for low income also qualify for electric assistance.
yep.
yeah, so that just requires like organizations to help out, get the word out and help
So I
people
think
apply.
we already got that covered.
So
Right. Well, this is SAKtown Talk on KIBH FM and our YouTube channel at SAKtown. And the guest today, Taylor Crocker, the operations manager of the City of Seward Electric Department. As far as getting, so I guess we're the kind of what we want to focus on right now is do the survey, right?
yep, and it's sewardsurvey.com.
Mm-hmm.
We can put something in the link.
Yep.
Can't believe that was available.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of names out there.
And as people from outside the city get to fill that out too.
100%. It asks if you're in and out of town, so that's vital information to know. And then there's even a box in there where you can just say anything that you want that's on your mind about your electric department.
You're awfully brave.
Yeah, I want people to be honest, and our goal is to provide a quality product to everyone that they're happy with, and have a utility that everyone knows that they're kind of part of. Even if, like right now, if you live outside of town, you can't vote on it. But
now you're trying to improve hydro and hockey, but that's another interview.
Yeah. So,
Community.
for those who have information or questions or concerns, you can have always, of course, whether you live inside town or outside, you can show up at your local council meeting the second and fourth Mondays every
3 minutes to speak up before the meetings and 5 minutes afterwards, whether you live inside or outside the city. Same with PAC meetings and same with planning and zoning.
So do the survey and show up and speak your mind or offer information or suggestions or concerns at the council meetings.
Just like to add one thing, it's always open as well
at the electric department.
So you can,
your truck is always there. I think you have a little car there.
You can come down and talk to us about anything you're concerned about, and then also we're on Facebook, and so if anyone wants to send a message, I try to reply to all the messages within a day. So
okay, Facebook. So Seward Electric, what's the Facebook thing?
Seward Electric Facebook page.
Yeah, okay, great.
But I administer it, and we try to put notices on there when there's outages and kind of play-by-plays while we fix the outage and whatnot. So to stay up to date, I think we have just over 500 followers at this point, but it's a great way to get information or ask questions or whatnot. And then we're always, if you just want to show up in person, we're down there too. So
all right, well, thanks a lot for taking the time out of your day here, Taylor, to talk about this. And again, take the survey. The postcard that's in the mail directs you to the surveys, and the surveys URL is
it's sewardsurvey.com, and there's also a QR code on the postcard, so if you want, you can just scan it with your phone. But
great. And you can get us at SAKtown.com and sewardpublic.org on the internet, as well as this YouTube channel at YouTube or at SAKtown, SAKTOWN. And we're on 91.7 and 106.1 in the Seward area on the airwaves. And we're going to go ahead and call this a show. So
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Okay. I have been waiting to do the best one for the last hour.